Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah Almighty's divine peace and blessings and light and strength and power and guidance, may His healing and His clarity be with you and with me. Welcome, brothers and sisters. It's been quite a while since I've had a chance to shoot a video. This is Ihsan. So for those of you who may be seeing this video or new to this channel, welcome. My name is Ihsan, and for those of you who have been with me for a while or following up and tuning in and subscribe to this channel, I've had a lot of personal life challenges in the last few months, and so there's been a lot of necessary travel. It's been really difficult to try to just cut away a few bits of time just to do a little bit of recording, but I wanted to make sure that I got something out and just connected with you guys and shared with you. And so currently I'm actually in England here for another day or two, and then God willing, inshallah ta'ala, the plan is to be in Turkey for Ramadan. But I wanted to just give you a quick topic that's been coming up a lot in my personal life and in the lives of those that are connected with me. And that is the topic of change. Change. And the reality is, the truth is, that life is change. And we have to learn, we have to condition ourselves, we have to have the attitude and the mindset to embrace change. And not just to embrace change, but to seek change. Life is change. The universe, by Allah's will, is continually pushing us forward to change, to grow, to develop, to evolve, so that we may survive and ultimately so that we may thrive. We have to remember that Allah's will for humanity is to thrive, it's to succeed, it's health, it's happiness, it's harmony, it is success. But what that requires is change. If we do not change, the best that we can ever hope to have or achieve is what we currently have and have achieved. And occasionally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you what you want. He will give you what you are seeking, what you're asking for what you are praying for. But that is an opportunity. And not just to hold on to what Allah gives you, but to grow with it, to develop with it, to evolve with it. Because every gift from Allah is an opportunity to advance towards Him. And to advance towards Him is to advance personally, spiritually. It's to grow in awareness, in consciousness, in excellence, in Ihsan. Ihsan is the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as our Prophet ﷺ described in the beautiful hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, in which he described Islam, Iman, and its culmination, the culmination of the religion as Ihsan, the path of excellence, the path of consciousness, the path of awareness. That is the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so life is continually pushing us to evolve. The maxim is, and ever has been, evolve or die. Right? Evolve and succeed. Fail to do so, be resistant to doing so, and you will fail. You will lose. We will lose. Life is such that it continually requires change. And the problem with us as human beings, especially as we think we know, right? As we think that we've learned, that we have lived, that we've experienced, this is why it's more difficult for people to change as they get older. The mind becomes static. The mind becomes rigid, inflexible. And so much of Islam is about retaining a beginner's mind, a learner's mind, a child's mind. This is one of the meanings behind Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Jesus alayhi salam, peace and blessings upon him, the great messenger and servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the great prophet of God, Jesus alayhi salam, who we believe is returning, and we pray that we will be amongst those that will be with him in the time of Mahdi alayhi salam, which Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described and prophesied, and what we must be seeking and praying for as believers. If we want to make our belief real, that is the way. Jesus alayhi salam said, "Do not prevent the little children from coming to me, from being near me, because I swear to you, unless you become as they are, you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven." These are the words of the great prophet Jesus, as has been relayed in the Gospels that have been preserved and transmitted. We know Islamically that these are not perfect texts, that there has been interpolation. They're not divinely revealed texts necessarily, but they do, as far as we hope, contain the words of Jesus alayhi salam, and experiences and descriptions of his life and times, his message and his mission. So he said, become like little children. One of the meanings of that is to retain this innocence, this fitra, right? This original state of openness, open-heartedness, seeking to learn. If you look at a child, it embraces learning. It is constantly seeking to learn because it is humble. It hasn't yet developed an ego. It hasn't yet develop this sense of self that, oh, well, this is me and I know this and I know that and I've always done it a certain way. This is how I learned it. A child is like a blank slate. A child is open. And so they are blessed. They are looking to learn. And that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Prophet ﷺ said, be a learner from the cradle to the grave. To learn means to change, right? What is the point of learning? It's not the accumulation of information. The point of learning, the point of knowledge, the point of information is to create, to catalyze, to move us towards transformation, change, evolution, growth, awakening. Unless you've arrived, unless you truly believe you have arrived, and even our Prophet ﷺ didn't have this attitude or mindset, let alone his Sahaba, let alone the Tabi'in, let alone any of the people of excellence throughout human history. None of them ever believed that they had arrived. They were sincere learners. The great Umar, Sayyidina Umar, the second Khalifa after the Prophet ﷺ, went and asked Sayyidina Salman, Ya Salman, where do you see a defect in me? Teach me, show me, because I cannot see myself, right? We are in our own blind spots. So this was the humility of the Khalifa, the leader of the Muslim Ummah. This was analogous to an emperor. He went to one of the people of the bench, Ashab al-Suffah, the dervishes, the lowly people, the quiet people, the humble, the meditative, the introspective, the people of dhikr. And Sayyidina Umar said, Ya Salman, where do you see a defect in me? Tell me so I can improve. Now contrast that with the current attitude that we may have, and that is common now, where if someone says something, someone instructs us, guides us, and the Prophet said the religion is advice, ad-dinu nasiha. If someone gives us advice or teaches us something we don't know, we become resistant to learning. We become resistant to change. Immediately the walls go up because the ego gets triggered. The ego begins to feel diminished, begins to feel that it's being lectured to, reprimanded, advised, whatever. But it's just ego. The humble are continually seeking to learn from any and every source. We can take advice and guidance and wisdom from anything and everyone. Even a child may say something. And the believer, the wise one, is always listening. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending to me through any source? Could be through your husband, could be through your wife, could be through an elder, could be through a stranger, could be through a child, could be through a sign. Constantly looking and seeking to evolve, to learn, to improve, because there is no way to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless you have arrived again. And none of us have arrived. We must remain humble and sincere seekers of change. To change what? To change ourselves, to grow, to evolve, to advance, to develop. We know so little, and it is the height of arrogance to be resistant to learning and to change. And so our Prophet ﷺ said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. The way of the believer is the way of learning, the way of knowledge, the way of seeking knowledge. Now we spend so much energy and effort in seeking worldly knowledge, external knowledge, knowledge of extrinsic subjects to advance our career, our profile, our ranking, our worldly status, right? Our ability to procure income in the world, which is fine. There's a place for that, a necessary place for that. But then we're so resistant to learning about ourselves, and our education system doesn't teach us this. It doesn't teach us about ourselves. It doesn't teach you about yourself. It only teaches you about other than yourself. And so we are strangers to ourselves. We think we know ourselves, but it's a false sense of self. That's a construct based on the external, based on the world, right? I'm so-and-so, I've got such and such a degree, I've got such and such a career, such and such a position, this is my family. All of that is meaningless in reality. What truly matters is your sense of self, your identity that is based on your position, your rank, and your relationship with the Creator, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is which is eternal. And everything that is temporal will be buried in the dirt, in the earth. So we have that aspect of our lives which we must tend to. If not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have created this. It must be tended to. But even more importantly, we must tend to that which is eternal. And the knowledge that is of benefit to our eternal reality, existence, journey, path, life, the life beyond this world, is the knowledge of the self. Because it is the knowledge of the self that leads to knowledge of God. And the point of knowledge of the self is to grow, it's to learn, it's to evolve, to become more and more aware of the self, of the ego, that which is the impediment to your destiny, to your purpose, the very purpose of your creation, advancing towards your Creator, towards the divine presence of God. So as I said earlier, Allah wants for you what you want. He put that desire in your heart. whether it's for a spouse, for worldly success, for health, right? For anything good, anything decent. Allah wants that for you, and that's why it's in your heart. He created you with that particular need, and Allah may give, but to advance you forward. Not just so you can grab onto something and then now you're content, now you're set, now your life is static. Absolutely not. Nothing in this world is static. And if we're not moving forward and advancing spiritually, right, in the faith, in the religion, if we're not increasing knowledge of our faith, of our religion, of our practice, we're going to fall behind and we are going to fail. We will end up failing in the world and in the hereafter. We must seek change. And again, this is a problem for many people today because we think that we should be perfect, that we feel so entitled. We have this strange sense of self-entitlement that we deserve happiness because we exist. That's ego and that's narcissism, and it's ridiculous. Happiness and love must be earned. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody believes they deserve to be happy. But the price of happiness and success, the price of love, is change. It is evolution, perpetual evolution. It is growth. It is the humbling of the self. And the entirety of this religion is about the humbling of the self. And being resistant to change, being resistant to learning, being resistant to improving and growing and advancing, things that we may not yet have developed, is coming from ego and from arrogance, from stubbornness. And these are qualities that are not pleasing to Allah. What is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is pleasing to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is humility. Humility. This is the way. This is the key. And if you want to be happy, if you want to succeed, if you want love, if you want to hold on to it, if it's been given to you, if you want to preserve it, if you want to grow with it, if you want to advance it and evolve it and deepen it, because there's no limit to the depths of even love, continually seek to change. Continually seek to evolve, which means continually seek to surrender. Right? All of this comes back to surrender. Surrendering the self. Submitting the ego. There is no success without submission. Inna dina indullah Islam. Verily the religion before Allah is Islam, which means submission and surrender. This is why we put the forehead to the ground. This is why we lower our heads. Because the head always wants to assert itself. That's the domain of the ego, this false sense of self. This is me, this is I, this is what I know, this is what I think, this is what I believe, this is what I learned. That is a full cup. And when a cup is full, you cannot give it anything else. It cannot receive anything else. It is stuck, it is static, and it will wither and die, and it will fail. The key is to continually empty yourself, to continually empty yourself, to continually empty yourself so that you can continually be filled with new and with more, with greater light, with greater knowledge, with greater wisdom, with greater excellence and beauty, with greater love. This is why one of the great spiritual teachers once said, only the hand that erases writes the true thing. We're not here to add to our sense of self, to increase our sense of self, to become static in our sense of self. We are here to dissolve our sense of self. And that can only be achieved through humility, through openness of heart, not through closing of the heart. Yes, there will be opportunity, there will be situations in life where it's difficult for a human being to submit themselves. But there is never not a reward for submitting the self, for being humble. Now, this doesn't mean ever to subject yourself to abuse if you can avoid it, but we're generally very far from that. Somebody may say something to us, and immediately the ego begins to assert itself. No, why? Why should I listen? Why should I do that? That's your way, this is my way. How much easier is it to just say, okay, yes, sure, that is good. Why not? If there's something good, take it, embrace it. It's a gift from God. If it's something bad, then reject it. Then step back. And if there is goodness coming to you in the form of knowledge or anything else, and you reject it, you're rejecting a favor from Allah. Remember that there are many levels to reality, many levels to spiritual development, many levels to consciousness, many levels to nearness to God. And if you at some point made a prayer, oh Allah, guide me and lead me to you, to purpose, to truth, to reality, to excellence, to beauty, to success, Allah will give you. But remember, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, He gives an opportunity. And the price for taking Allah's gift is always humility, submission, surrender, diminishing and dissolving the self, the false self, the ego. Put it down. I know that this world conditions you, conditions us all, to continually depend on the self, assert the self, strengthen the self, defend the self. That is fine for the world. It's necessary for the world to a degree. And unfortunately, because everybody's now living in this survival environment where everyone is just basically struggling to survive. Even those who historically didn't need to be in that struggle for survival now are in the struggle for survival along with everyone else. Everybody's in the arena. And this is not good. It ruins human character. And while that may have served you or may serve you in the outer world, it will not serve you in the spiritual path nor in your home life. And home life is an integral and key component of your spiritual life. And this is why our Prophet ﷺ said that the best of you are those who are best amongst their families, amongst their kin, in their homes. That is the true test. So many people are humble and friendly and all of this good attitude outside, but like dragons inside sometimes, right? And not humble, not peaceful at home. That is against the way, right? That should be the opposite. The outer world is where you should be fierce. The inner world is where you should be soft, submissive, peaceful, calm, friendly, harmonious. And remember that the only way that harmony can ever be achieved is through the diminishing and the dissolving, the submitting and the surrendering of the self, never through the assertion of self. That will only lead to conflict. And lastly, remember, Allah gives opportunities. When you ask, He gives you an opportunity. He doesn't give you the thing. He gives you the opportunity to become worthy of the thing. So don't lose these opportunities. Don't lose the gifts and the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through arrogance and stubbornness, through resistance to change, to growth, to evolution, to learning, to humbling of the self. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, and may He Almighty Azza wa Jal bless us all and guide us to truth, and guide us to goodness, guide us to excellence, guide us to peace, guide us to that which is pleasing to Him and which is best for us. His divine presence, His divine pleasure is our happiness and our pleasure. Best and most blessed regards, beloved brothers and sisters, to your divine and eternal success. Fi aman Allah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.